Hello everyone, hello once again, and welcome to the Prismata News and Game Dev Insights Show. I am your host, Elliot. Actually, before we get to that, let's hang out in the full screen cam mode. Today I am going to once again be doing some developer commentary. We're going to play through a few of the campaign missions, including the expert challenges, and I'm going to tell you some of the thoughts that went into creating those missions, the reasons why they are the way they are, what we learned playtesting with actual humans, and it should be fun. If you guys have any questions, you can pop them open in the Twitch chat, and I will try to answer them. And at the end, we may do another bonus Q&A session, depending on how much time I have. So, without further ado, let's fade the music, switch to the in-game music, switch to in-game. Here we are. Okay, so I have not completed this mission yet on my main account. That's interesting. It must have been because we renamed it. So, let's get right to it. Overheated. Overheated was, well, I explained last time in the developer commentary that the first three missions were the hardest for us. They literally took years of experimenting, design, testing with people to try and find the right way to introduce Prismata's unique rule set to people who'd never played the game before. And through the different orders of things we tried, we determined that teaching people to buy things and to attack before teaching defense seemed to be the right way to do it, because defense is the most complicated aspect of the game. And so mission 3 is the mission where we finally teach people defense. You know, you're going to get attacked by this overheat ray, you're going to have to build walls, you're going to have to click defenders in order to not get breached, you're going to have to learn the pain of getting breached, and you're going to ultimately get to destroy your opponent. So, the scenario for the story is quite basic. You know, at the first two missions, had to be missions where you're just kind of killing things that don't fight back. So we chose these like garbage collector robots for that. And then we needed you to get attacked in mission 3. And so we decided to just use this kind of like inciting incident of you're just chilling in your office and like you get attacked all of a sudden. And it's scary and it's out of nowhere, and like you have defenses and you have to defend. So here we have Suede and Logan just chilling out. Oh yeah, this line was added at the very last minute. We wanted it to seem like you know, Suede would have to do something like really boring and horrible. You know, he's got to write one justification report for each unit you deployed in battle. So you know, in mission 2 you build all these steel splitters and drakes and stuff, and so like now you feel like, oh, I should have tried to do it with the minimum units possible. Yeah, and Logan has these goofy pieces of technology on his hands. It's kind of funny because, like, Logan, like, some people ask, like, why does Logan have these goofy things on his hands? In the future, shouldn't it just be, like, in his brain or something? But Logan is, like, he's a little bit of a hipster. The technology he has, he's kind of like wearing Google Glass, right? And nobody else wears Google Glass in the story. It's sort of like, imagine a person who like uses a typewriter instead of a keyboard. That's what Logan is in our game. He's like a hipster that uses old school technology far in the future. So this is kind of like some method of having a keyboard in your hands at all time that doesn't require a keyboard. And they also have these glowy screens on the back, so he can, like, you know, look at them and just like, you know, he's supposed to be able to like stare at his hands as a computer and just like get the full speed of typing without having to use touchscreen input. But in Prismata's universe, this might be old technology. You know, so they're asking Giselle, what's up with the drones? You know, yada yada yada. This is just kind of some you know, expository text, and the point is now we get interrupted by, oh yeah, are there more robots outside? There are gun bots. They have guns. We get Logan's hilarious shocked face, which everybody laughs at. What the hell is going on? We got some screen shake. Screen shake is like the most undervalued thing in video game development. It's amazing. And we're gonna get the overheat ray. Those little shits aren't gonna wander into my city. Yeah, we debated whether this line was just too vulgar, but no, the gunbots are little shits. definitely true. And so, here we are in game. So we have the overray, not the enemy. And the enemy has these gun bots attacking us. And it's the first time we've seen these. And these are just vanilla 1-1s and 1-3s. It's kind of weird. The enemy actually has to click these units in order to attack you with them, which is different than Tarsiers, right? Tarsiers just attack at the start of the turn. But we wanted... like, it felt better as a player if the enemy, like, clicked their attackers during the attack phase. So that's why the gunbots are actually, like, click to attack units, even though they should just be Tarsiers that attack automatically at the start of the turn. Why are the 3 energy matrices not in a pile? The answer is just because it was clearer for players when they were clicking their defenders. We originally had different names for them, like we had left matrix, central matrix, and right matrix. That confused the hell out of people because they thought, like, are they different? Should they be different? I mean, we could just put them in a pile, but we found with new players it was a bit clearer if we did it this way. And no new player has ever complained about this. It's just like the existing Prismata players that complain. So yeah, there's right outside the office. So we introduced the idea here that, like, you can be standing inside the office while you are controlling the forces that are outside the office. So the slate is like, you know, it has some kind of range to it. You don't necessarily have to be immediately standing next to your units to control them. Time to turn these soup cans into slag. And hold up, the overheat ray, it's got to charge up. So, like, we decided to use this overheat ray as a way of giving you offense in a defense mission without making the mission really about attacking or offense. Like, we wanted the mission to just be about defense. And we wanted it to kind of be like, survive until a specific time, and then the overheat ray fires off. I don't know if you guys have played the original StarCraft, but the 3rd Terran mission in the original StarCraft is survive for 30 minutes, and you just build missile turrets and bunkers and stuff like that. And we kind of wanted our 3rd mission to be the same thing. We just wanted it to be build defense, you know, don't worry about trying to take out the enemy, just build defense. And we decided that this overheat ray with a timer on it was the best way to do that. And, you know, it's just like this massive gun that does 30 damage. So when you finally do get to click it, there's this awesome feeling of, like, yes, I have 30 damage. And so, you know, Logan tells you to build a wall. In fact, the only thing you can do this turn is to build a wall. If you try to do anything else, if you try to, like, not activate all your drones, the game won't let you. It basically just forces you down this path of building a wall. You know, and here you get your first defense phase. And what a lot of people do is they do this. They say, oh, there's 12 damage incoming. How do I make 12? Well, 3, 3, 5, 1. Okay, 12. That's great. You know, and the way we have it set up, well, so Logan is basically going to say build more walls, right? The way we have it set up is so that on the 2nd turn you have to absorb, no matter what you do. So you will get to see absorb in these first 2 turns one way or another. Anyway, so they're always saying, you know, is there anything else you can boot up? Is there reinforcements? You better make as many walls as you can. Like, managing the anxiety of the player is very important in this mission, because the first 2 missions are kind of boring, and they kind of set the stage for Mission 3, which is now a very anxious mission. You're under a lot of pressure. And some players were like, am I losing? Am I going to lose? Like, do I have to count up everything and make sure I'm okay? And the ongoing dialogues between Suede and Logan while the mission goes on help to quell that anxiety and make people feel, okay, you know, I'm supposed to get breached. This is supposed to happen. Yeah, so you actually have to buy walls that turn. It will not let you end the turn without buying walls. And no matter how you defend here, you will get some absorb. So you get to see the fact that walls absorb and that they gain health. And the amount of enemies spawned here is actually, I think, somewhat variable depending on how much defense you lose. It's always such that, like, on this turn, you can't get breached. And it will, you can control Z, by the way, to undo. It will force you to either, like, end your turn with enough drones blocking or buy walls, but there's basically no way to lose your overheat ray. I should go back and I will click the Logan tip for you guys and show you what Logan says here. Basically, it's the warning that they're going to breach, but Suede just says it's fine, so players understand, oh, okay, I'm going to get breached here, but as long as I don't lose the overheat ray, we're good, right? And Suede's very confident that everything's fine. So you get breached. And now, your poor drones, time for some revenge. The overheat ray is all charged up. Yeah, and I freaking love firing this thing. So like, you know, we want players to experience the pain of getting breached so that they lose all their drones, so that they understand that buying defense is important. And you know, we don't really want to try to explain the subtle nuances of like, you know, you don't get any absorb value when you get breached or anything like that. Like, players aren't really ready for that, but we do want them to understand, like, don't lose your drones. So, and then you get to click the overheat ray. That animation right there, it's based on a Fibonacci spiral, where the balls basically, they rotate around by an angle of, like, 2 pi divided by the golden ratio, basically. And it causes them to make this shape that looks a bit like a pine cone or a pineapple or something like that. And I coded this animation in about 30 minutes, but I think it looks really friggin' cool. And we wanted the overheat ray to be like the coolest friggin' thing ever. Like, we wanted players to get so excited when they get to click this overheat ray. So we really tried to make a cool attack animation, you know, make it sound good and feel good. Nerf the overheat ray, hahaha. Yeah. Anyway, so we get a few reinforcements. He says, oh, you're kind of late. Oh, you only took about 1/3 of them. A lot of the dialogue that happens in missions is just controlling players' expectation for like how long the mission is going to be, what's happening, how many phases there are, because players feel a lot more comfortable when they have a grip on that. I mean, there are some times where we want to surprise the players, but in general, we just want players to feel comfortable, and so that we can give them a stressful mission without too much anxiety. So it has to cool off. You have some time to rebuild defenses. So now you finally get to build drones. This turn is rigged so that you must buy 1 drone and 1 wall. So we don't give a second engineer because we don't want players to go drone here. We want them to go drone wall. And if you try and end your turn without doing that, it will force you to buy the drone. If you try and end your turn without doing that, it will force you to buy the wall. So basically you have to go DW here. There's no other thing you can do. And here you get to experience defending 2 damage on a wall. And this is the first time where, well, a lot of players actually do this. They don't click the engineer first. Some of them do. And then, you know, they talk about the stragglers. And Suede gives this line, a single wall can hold these off forever. And that's, again, intended to sort of hint at the thing that the wall can absorb. Absorb is kind of the most important mechanic in Prismata, and we don't actually need people to understand Absorb until the Scrap and Scrutiny mission, which is way later. It's like mission 6, but we want to get the gears turning in players early. We want them to understand that defense is not just about soak. So here players get a choice. They can either wall or they can wall drone. Of course, both choices are fine. And here they come. No kidding, a bunch of them just showed up on the screen, so we're getting a little bit of information about how the universe works. Suede, we're reminded that Suede is looking at a screen and that this is the screen's view of what enemies are there. Gotta keep the overheat ray safe at all costs. And we can sort of, there are many different directions to build in. And now we get to learn that unactivated drones and steel splitters can block. And so this is a turn where if you're paying careful attention, holding a drone back is really good. Most players don't see this, but those who do, they do get the reward of not getting breached. You know, because they can do this or whatever, and they can actually prevent a breach from occurring and keep most of their drones alive. And once again, we get to fire the overheat ray, and boom. And oh yeah, we expect players to mindlessly skip the conversations and the tutorials, but then when they get to Scrap and Scrutiny and they realize, oh shit, I need to learn how this works, they start paying attention to the Giselle tips. Anyways, so there's one more wave and it's massive. How come the overheat ray takes so long to cool off? Can't you dump a tank of water on it or something? I could, but not if you want to fire it again. Damn it, Logan. Gotta insert a little bit of comic relief. And then in phase 3, we finally at long last get to purchase engineers, and we also get the steel splitters, so we actually get to experience the full like defense phase, buy phase, breach phase in Prismata. And I think there'll be a little tooltip that comes up. Yeah, the 3 phases of a turn. This infographic really sucks. I'm going to definitely do a better version of it before the free-to-play Prismata launches. But we did want to sort of teach players there's 3 phases of a turn. Even though the breach phase and the buy phase can be done in any order, we kind of present Prismata as a game with phases. Because that's the way it kind of exists in a lot of players' minds. And our goal with this mission is to just kind of habituate players to, like, breaching the opponent, buying defenses, and there are all kinds of warnings. Like, if you have tons and tons of money in the bank, it will force you to spend it. And it is possible to lose this mission. Like, if you just hold all your drones back all the time, you'll lose the mission. But generally, players don't lose this mission. Why was it changed to red? Why was what changed to red? And this is the last turn. And the idea here is that the number of enemies spawned is such that you have to hold some drones back. The text in the pop-up explanation, it was always red, and I will in the future be changing it to not red. I think it's not the best color. Yeah, so basically I'm going to have to put these drones on defense duty. We really want players to just understand that drones can block. Even though they can beat most of the missions in the first chapter without ever blocking with drones, it's kind of something that's important. And so you got to block with drones, hold your drones back. Should attack first so you don't over-defend. It doesn't really matter either way. Rest in peace, drones. May we always remember their noble sacrifice. For crying out loud, Logan, they're insentient. Of course, the drones are not alive. And we get to breach all the enemies. All the malicious gunbots have been eliminated. We remind people that they can press space to end their turn. Shift F to pay respects. And then Suede says, what the hell was that? Why are we getting attacked? They're military sentries. Centauri Robotics are not licensed to manufacture anything that can harm humans. Well, their robots threw a guy off a catwalk and attacked the city. We need to figure out what's going on. And then Suede and Logan get to have a little argument about what they should do next. Suede just wants to interrogate everybody. And we're going to meet the head of R&D of Centauri Robotics over at the lab for a chat. So let's go to Overheat Ray Expert Challenge and I'll explain a little bit about this. So, the Overheat Ray has been changed to have only 1 HP, which means you can't get breached for more than that. But the mission is more or less the same. There's 3 waves. The waves are much tougher. And we're building things and defending. So it starts off pretty basic. Here you have the choice of, do you want to lose 2 walls or do you want to lose Engineer Energy Matrix? And you might guess that it matters, and indeed it does. You want to preserve your granularity, right? But the first phase is more or less just a warm-up. And now we get more enemies, and we can see the gunbots are actually delayed a turn. And we do want to build some drones here to get up our drone count. It's kind of dumb because you're building a drone and then immediately sacrificing it. So it's one of those situations where if Engineer was available, you'd actually much rather just buy an Engineer. But in this situation, Engineers are not available, so we just buy a drone. And this is the turn that everybody gets really confused by, because if you want to defend, you have to do this. But if you do this, then you end up 1 short on the next turn. 9 into 8, and your Overheat Ray is going to get breached and you're going to die. So what you have to do instead is actually get breached for 0, and then hold back all of your drones and get breached for 0 again. So this kind of illustrates this counterintuitive thing about Absorb. Like, yes, Absorb is valuable, but in some cases, just keeping your drones alive and working with them in order to get more gold, in order to afford more purchased walls, is actually more important. And many players get stumped on this second wave. But it's a neat little trick, and it's an important one that players should learn. So here we are, Wave 3. Wave 3, I think, actually has a lot of solutions. You can build up quite a few drones. You can also just build up some walls. I think both solutions more or less work. Probably we should engineer there instead of drone. But the test here is sort of just like, can you defend? We'll see if I manage to curve out the right way. I think we got it because we're just barely holding here, and then... shit. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. So, we did okay for a few turns. I feel like we built the right number of drones. We definitely want to drone up here. Maybe we can do better if we walk. Save a little money. That probably needs to be engineered. Creator loses at their own tutorial. No, this is not a tutorial. This is an expert challenge. These are supposed to be hard. Yeah, there we go. Phase 3 of this challenge has two different solutions. One in which DD is bought on turn 11, and the other which DDE is bought. Yes, yes. And I tried DDEE, which I guess was wrong. But I did remember that you could do either. Anyways, let's talk about Mission 4. So Mission 4 is, it's a special mission for a couple of reasons. It's the mission where we meet Anya, which is everybody's favorite character. You know, Anya, best girl. Whatever you make of it. But also, it's the mission where everything comes together. It's the mission where you get to do building, attacking, defense, all in the same mission. And it's the first mission where Prismata, like, clicks for people. Because up until now, you've kind of just been learning the mechanics and learning the basics, but now you're going to play a real mission, you're going to get to actually build up, and you're going to have the freedom to build up in whatever way you want. You can go econ, you can just buy a lot of attackers, you can get lots of defense, and, you know, the mission is designed to be enjoyable however you choose to play it. But let's talk about the story. So, the idea was supposed to be that they go over to the lab. This is actually one of the first pieces of art we ever got commissioned for Prismata. We just, you know, oh, let's make a high-tech, cool-looking lab where they do data analysis and stuff. And so we got this lab built, and we wanted to put it in the first chapter, and it was kind of just like, okay, well, that's where they're going to go and hang out and look at the analysis of the source code that they've recovered, doing their data autopsies. Your favorite character is Anya's boss. You're going to see more of Anya's boss in Chapter 2. Quite a lot more. Anyways, and now we find out that the guy from Satori Robotics that we were going to meet up with and have a chat with, he's actually gone. Because we never got art for him. He doesn't actually exist in the game. And instead, we did a little bait and switch, and you get to meet Anya. And here we have Anya's profile. You know, her search queries are like, you know, pretty nerdy. Rapid tissue synthesis and T-Pumulus based weaponry. You know, she's clearly still a bit of an academic. You know, T-Pumulus, you can look up which species that is. It's a real species. You know, but basically she's trying to find a faster way to make tarsiers. Which is a joke that we will see repeated later in the chapter. Anyways, so we've met Anya, and of course she's the boss. She's going to tell you exactly what she needs. You know, Suede's expected to know that she has the legal authority to step in here. and he's going to argue it even though he's wrong. Centauri is autonomous, and he's going to accuse the Alliance of being here to burn the evidence. So clearly not friendly with the Alliance. And now we get her, you know, slightly more scowly face. The robots in your jurisdiction have committed multiple violations of the non-aggression protocols. And of course, Cygnus sent you. And, you know, Suede calls him Cygnus, but Anya calls him General Augustus. And General Augustus has given her clearance to do whatever the hell she wants. Yeah, this is Suede being a little bit bitter. There's no time for your acrimony right now. Yeah, so we have Anya use a big word, you know, or a word that some people might not be that familiar with. I mean, it's clear what it means, right? It just means bitterness, right? But we use the word acrimony instead of bitterness because we want to portray her as, you know, she's like a bookworm. She's a person who uses those type of words in her regular speech, right? You know, she's just like way out there, you know. And she's going to tell you exactly what she needs. She needs the lab to transfer all relevant files to the Alliance's central analysis team. So you're not even in charge anymore. The Alliance is now in charge. And she's going to go head over to Centauri Robotics to ensure that they shut off their network. Suede, of course, is going to go do some insider trading. And she's going to smile and leave. And after that experience is over, you know, we get to find out what Logan thinks of Anya. And this part of the scene, we rewrote it so many times because, like, Logan is supposed to have like a little bit of a nerd crush on Anya, right? But like, we don't want it to seem so obvious and tropey, like, you know, oh, this guy's a nerd, he falls in love with the first hot girl who walks in the room. Like, we do want all of the relationships between the characters to sort of have a bit more depth and be a bit more interesting. And, you know, we rewrote this scene so many times to try and find the right way to introduce, you know, the Logan-Anya relationship. And basically what we settled on is that, like, Logan is super curious about Anya because he thinks he plays her in a video game. And it's you know, throughout the whole story, this is, you know, Logan has this interest in Anya because of this connection that they may or may not have through some game that we invented called Astroshock Arena. So Logan keeps losing to somebody in Astroshock Arena with the name Captain Iravani. I think it's her. Oh, really? You think she plays Astroshock? And Suede with his kind of smug grin. If you're thinking of inviting her to the guild, no. Well, I don't even know if it's her yet. Where do you know her from anyway? Right, so he's clearly very curious. Did you just hear an alarm? Yeah, and if the conversation is cut short, and, you know, you'll see this as a recurring theme. You know, there'll be some little bits of a side story, and then, oh, nope, we're getting attacked. We have to go to battle. Because, of course, every Prismata cutscene has to end with a battle. And, you know, if you've played Trauma Center games, you know how absurd it is where every single cutscene has to end in surgery. Sometimes the things that happen in that game, which result in you being in surgery, are pretty absurd. But, you know, we have a much smaller challenge in that we only have to just, like, end up fighting robots. But anyways, here we do want to set the stage for the scenario and the mission, which is you have a bunch of time before the enemy arrives and you get to set up your counterforce. And then Logan is basically just, you know, we are lampshading the fact that, like, yeah, we're still in the lab and we're just deploying forces, but Suede says, whatever, we're just going to deploy forces and ask questions later. And after we say that, players just kind of forget that, oh, they're in a laboratory and whatever. Like, where are the enemies coming from? It doesn't matter. We're fighting some enemies. Oh yeah, I fast forwarded quite quickly past that, but we introduced the confirm phase here, and Giselle pops up with a little warning that says the commit phase is in there. We tell players that they can turn it off, but we very much advise them not to. This option to disable the confirm phase, we added it quite late. Because we were worried that, like, critics of the game or people playing the game, like, you know, maybe like 10% of players were like, this is stupid, I should just have to click it once. You know, because they're used to playing Hearthstone, and in Hearthstone you click enter and it ends your turn. But, you know, like, we want to allow players the option, but at the same time, we hope that nobody ever clicks this, because all of the warnings happen in the confirm phase. You know, there's so much useful information that's provided by having the confirm phase, and people do see their mistakes in the confirm phase and go back. And so we put not recommended, and we have this long-ass warning. You know, it's only recommended for experts, it eliminates the breach warnings, it vastly increases the likelihood of accidental turn passing, which, you know, if you've seen some Life Coach highlights, you've seen it does happen. You know, Pump says he plays Ultra Blitz games and still doesn't disable the confirm phase, and yeah, you know, so, like, the reason we added this option is mostly just so that we could tell people, like, you shouldn't use this, rather than just leave people questioning, oh, why don't you have this feature? You know, it's kind of like we begrudgingly put it in. And yeah, we remind people that they can store gold. The main reason we have that there is because we want to have it somewhere, and this set of turns is kind of very devoid of content. We are kind of letting players loose on their own for the first time to just build up what they want to build up. And we do have the stupid thing where the mission objectives kind of steer you in the right direction. You know, and some people hate when games do that, but in this case we wanted, well, we want people to get the Omega Splitters, and so we basically just told them, like, get the prerequisites for the Omega Splitter. And as a bonus, they have approximately a good drone to Blast Forge ratio if they follow this. So let's do that. Let's grab another Blast Forge. 7 NG strap. Looks like they're here. That's it. And of course we learn, yes, there are many waves. 4 groups in total. Suede's got this. So, in this mission we want to teach you about breaching, we want to teach you about getting breached. And we want to sort of teach the overall ebb and flow of, like, how to defend, how to attack. And we have these warnings that come up that talk about how long until the enemy reinforcements arrive. Those were a relatively late addition to the mission. Many players do this. They actually kill the tough gun bots before the gun bots. We don't really know why. I think it's just they like to go right to left. We almost switched the ordering, but we decided not to, because we would rather players do it the wrong way and then realize, oh wait, I should do this. You know, the more realizations people have, the better. Yeah, the mission objectives are hiding behind my face. I can hide the cam for a minute. Like, a lot of people don't even really look at the mission objectives, but whatever, they're there. So if you play really well, you can actually get through here. One thing I should mention is that oh yeah, this is the first mission in which you can cancel, and we explain how that works to people. This is the first mission in which the enemies are, like, heavily rigged. The amount of gunbots spawned depends entirely on how much stuff you have and how well you are doing. And the reason is because, like, Prismata is a game in which you can grow exponentially. Right? If you just build drones and engineers and keep building drones and engineers, your economy size does grow exponentially. The amount of attackers you can get can be so much bigger if you get a huge economy than it is if you just go, like, turn 1 Blast Forge or something like that. And we didn't want people to lose if they went for a small econ strat, even though, like, you know, the game warns you, get lots of drones, whatever. We wanted this mission to be possible with a wide variety of different econ sizes. And it's just so hard because there's so many things that people can do to do better or worse on the mission. Like, many players are still not absorbing on this mission. And if people don't absorb, they buy turn 1 Blast Forge Engineer. Like, there's so many bad things they can do. And we didn't want them to outright lose. So the amount of enemies had to be rigged so that players can do well regardless of which strategy they pursue. Yeah, and so we have this little joke about, the sword and shield in the interface, which is it's always a funny point, but actually nobody ever questions it. Even though this is supposed to be a futuristic sci-fi game, the sword and shield are just like there. You know, and we tried things other than a sword. Like we tried some kind of laser gun or attack ball or something. And sword is the thing that means attack to people. Whether it's because of Hearthstone or because of other card games, sword means attack is like so universal that we had to use sword for attack in Prismata. And so these players are now making a joke that, you know, oh, the game uses sword and shield for attack and defense. Is it the same reason you still click that paper rectangle thing to read messages? It's like, he doesn't even know what an envelope is. He just, like, sees it. You know, the same joke that people make about floppy disks. Like, you click the floppy disk icon to save in Microsoft Word or something like that. But nobody friggin' uses a floppy disk for anything anymore. So you do spawn lots of defenses. Let's just get breached. When you get breached in this mission, for the first time, you get this warning, which talks about, you know, when the enemy breaches your defenses, they can harm your drones. Even though we got breached before, we really want to remind players what the consequences are for not building enough walls. And many players at this point will just spam walls and either get breached or not. But in the final section, there's actually such a huge number of enemies that almost all players are going to get breached here. And we really want that to happen. We want you to kind of go into a breach-proof endgame, where your Omegas and Steel Splitters are fighting against their tough gun bots. And here we're going to lose an Omega because the enemy is programmed to prioritize Omegas over drones, over Steel Splitters, over Blast Forges. But of course, it's rigged so the enemy spawns enough stuff to breach you, but definitely not enough stuff to win. And you can lose that mission. Many players do lose that mission, but like we were really struggling early on with a lot of players losing that mission, sometimes multiple times, and we had to make it easier over and over again until players are getting through it kind of on the first time. And sometimes by the skin of their teeth on the first time, which is generally a good experience. It's exciting for people. But yeah, this was probably the hardest mission to tune in terms of difficulty, just because there's so many ways in which players can be absolutely terrible. And, you know, we don't necessarily want them to lose. Anyways, so back to the story. We get word from Anya that, you know, she's over at Centauri Robotics, and she's bearing witness to Suede's destruction of the place. You know, somehow Suede didn't destroy the server room, which is explained, well, not really explained, but Anya mentions it to us. And she's also chastising us a little bit for our violent behavior. Suede, of course, will have none of it. He's just gonna talk about his really good aim. Anyways, all the server communication has been disabled, and we have to meet her back at the office for a debrief. And apparently, her boss is worse. I'd rather brush my teeth with sandpaper than take orders from that jerk. This line, we had so many candidates for this line. Some of them were much less appropriate than this one. We're trying to find something kind of goofy and funny that Suede could say regarding Cygnus. Suede does not like Cygnus. What should we do with the bodies? Scrap metal, scan them in, and oh! The lights have gone out. And the thing that really makes this scene is that the music is also cut out, and suddenly it's super silent. And of course we've darkened the background. What the hell? And back on. What was that, a power surge? And I think that the noise for like the power going back up is literally like the sound effect for Steel Forge or something, or we might have reversed it, I don't remember. But it's just a sound effect stolen from the game. But we used it in the cutscene. Logan's got a bunch of alarm notifications. Anya says, did something go wrong with the power grid? Solar Generation's camera streams are all offline. Oh no, we better go check it out the old-fashioned way. So now we have to go to the solar fields. Before we get to that, Let's do the expert challenge for Omega Factor. Sandpaper is still a thing in this Prismata future. I mean, sure, you gotta make things smooth. See, there's a lot of questions in the chat. New player here, 13 hours in the game. Love the game. Thank you. No matter how bad we are, our players are going to be worse. We focused on making it as easy as possible so they could make it. I mean, I think Mission 4 is too early for players to lose. Like, we want them to lose once when they get to the boss. But we don't really want them to lose on Mission 4. It's too soon. We don't want players to think the game's not for them or too hard, and we don't want them to quit. Yeah, maybe destroying the servers would have been a good idea. Sure. Think there's too much text in the tutorial? Well, I mean, you can always bypass it. Can Elliot beat this in 17 turns? Is that the record? I have not played the fully optimized version of this mission, but we'll see. Alyssa just got back. She's her and I might be driving to KW tonight from Toronto. I am not sure yet. We're gonna decide based on the weather. She helped with a lot of the jokes and the writing in some of these early missions, though. I don't know if I can convince her to come join us for the developer commentary. Anyways, okay, hold on. I actually want to optimize here. So, like, the early turns in this mission are pretty awkward. Like, you're basically playing player 2 in an econ set where there is no conduit. So you either have to, like, store 4 a bunch of times, or like, you know, like, what are you doing here? Like, if you do this, you're too short. If you do this, you have to store 4. If you do this, you can get a blast forge. But then, like, what are you going to buy? And I believe it's set up so that there are a couple of different ways you can win the mission. I'm trying to remember what actually is the best thing to do. I think you actually want to econ more. This is a good set for the player 2 natural blast forge. Yeah, it just feels bad, right? Like it's the worst possible thing. This you can actually do, and then you get a nice turn of 5 drones and a blast forge. But I think we're definitely going to be too slow if we do this. Like, we're not going to have enough defense set up. Like, how it kind of works is if you don't kill all of the gun bots by the time the next phase rolls around, you're going to be screwed. You actually have to prioritize getting defense up a fair amount. Not getting defense up, getting attackers up. So I think we want to do this. And then we want to get a double blast forge, seal splitter drone, and then get the Omega. Maybe we just want to pump Angies. Can never remember. Like, we want to breach the enemy on the second turn here. If we do 4 damage, we'll kill the 2 shield modules, and then maybe we can just do 3 damage and then 7 next turn. That seems alright. We left one alive. I think that's okay. That's probably okay. But maybe we also really wanted to get to 12 this turn. So let's try even more attack heavy. Still 3rd NG. Oh yeah, another thing you can do is you can actually just go triple blast forge here and drone, and you can grab 2 Omegas before the enemies even get here. I think this strat does work as well. Do we want to absorb on Omega? We might. But here we're going to have to click all 3, and this is awkward. I'm not going to buy a second engineer because I want to afford another Omega here. But now at least we get 12 attack and we can get through here. And that seems a little bit better. Could I? I could not have bought another engineer, right? Okay, we'll do this so we can get another Omega up. And here comes... Yeah, so I think here we got to switch into a much more defensively postured stance. And we're not going to get to kill everything, but we will at least get all those gunbots down. 5 Omegas. Final wave. Yeah, so here, we actually really want to defend. I think this Steel Splitter probably should just be a wall. Too bad that doesn't do anything. Maybe actually keeping Omega back is... yeah, that's way better, right? Let's just spam walls. I think this will be enough to win. Might be close. We want to keep defending for a couple of turns. Maybe we have to switch to breaching. Can we defend an Omega? It looks like we're short. Looks like we're short. I think if we do this, we've lost. Have we? Can't tell. Sven is raiding us. Hey Sven, how you doing? How are you doing? Seems too much, right? Yeah, too much. Okay, let's go back. We gotta optimize. Gotta optimize a little more. Okay, so up until now I think we've done well. Here we cannot get through. We have to do this. Steel Splitter seems fine. Maybe drone even. Game is too hard for dev. I mean, the undo button is there for a reason. You know, you're supposed to kind of go back and forth sometimes. Let's do that. We can get a 6th Omega. That seems better. But it didn't even do us well. Okay, no, we don't want a 6th Omega. We want like... what do we want? 3 walls. The thing is, like, we need a Steel Splitter if we want to breach for 1 here, but I think we don't. I think we want to hold the Omega back. So let's just be ultra defensive. Ugh. That might be too much. Too much hold back. Lose 1 Omega and all the drones. How close is this? Did we get it? I think we got it. Yeah. That was good enough. You can definitely do better, but not my goal at the moment. Like, the missions are designed to be a difficulty where, if you're a good Prismata player, you can kind of fiddle around and find your way to the win. But we don't want people to get them on the first try, right? And I haven't really memorized the solution to most of these missions. Oh yeah, and you get the little bonus info that there is a solution where only a single engineer has been constructed, which is a trickier solution.